My very last WNBA CBA update for the year of 2025, or at least I'm crossing my fingers that it's the last update, because you guys, this has just been insane, and hopefully the ladies take a little time off during the Christmas break. They enjoy their family and friends, and they're not arguing online over this new CBA. In the last episode that I filmed about this, I did a whole episode saying, like, I feel like they're getting closer. It seems like the two sides are getting closer. They're going to get a deal done. Adam Silver came out and he was like, if things start going astray, I'll be there and we'll make sure that we get a deal done. And then right after I finished editing, I saw the news that the WNBA players had authorized a strike when
the WNBA players delivered a crushing blow that reverberated across the entire organization. Their strike authorization passed with a staggering 93% majority, transforming what could have been routine polling into a declaration of war. 54 athletes endorsed the measure, granting leadership extraordinary authority. Just 3 players opposed the movement. This small minority challenged the overwhelming consensus, creating immediate tension in CBA discussions. The ultimatum was unmistakable: meet our terms or face complete shutdown. The organization's survival, already precarious, has now reached its most perilous moment, forcing executives toward either breakthrough compromise or total breakdown.
Silver came out and he was like, if things start going astray, I'll be there and we'll make sure that we get a deal done. And then right after I finished editing, I saw the news that the WNBA players had authorized a strike when necessary. So just to get you guys up to speed there, 93% of the players participated in the vote. So 93% of players in the WNBA. And how many is that? Could we do the math? I believe that there's 166 WNBA players times 0.93. Is that right? So 154 players voted, and 3 players, so only 3 players voted no to the authorization of a strike, which means the rest of the players said, if things start.
This strike approval comes at an unusual moment in the calendar, creating uncertainty about its practical consequences. Critics wonder whether off-season action carries equal influence compared to mid-season disruption, which would create substantial chaos. The scheduling represents tactical maneuvering, an early warning delivered months before competition resumes, cornering management into addressing player concerns. It demonstrates calculated timing, applying leverage when leadership feels most secure, though its actual power remains questionable.
You guys up to speed there. 93% of the players participated in the vote. So 93% of players in the WNBA. And how many is that? Could we do the math? I believe that there's 166 WNBA players times 0.93. Is that right? So 154 players voted, and 3 players, so only 3 players voted no to the authorization of a strike, which means the rest of the players said, if things start getting crazy, go ahead, you guys. You guys can call a strike and we'll just see where things go. Now, I didn't get to go into depth about how I actually feel about this, and my initial thoughts is like, they're not really working right now. So it's like, I get that they can't.
Examining that 93% margin more closely, the 3 opposing votes generate fascinating debate. Their identities remain mysterious, along with their motivations for breaking ranks. Popular analysis indicates these dissenters likely represent bench or developmental talent, players facing maximum financial exposure should work interruption become reality, since superstars with international contracts or partnerships through leagues like Unrivaled and Project B face minimal economic hardship during stoppages. However, for others, complete income loss threatens survival. This minority opposition, though minimal, exposes underlying fractures beneath the seemingly unified player movement.
Now, I didn't get to go into depth about how I actually feel about this, and my initial thoughts is like, they're not really working right now. So it's like, I get that they can call a strike, but it's off season. Do you know what I mean? The players issuing a strike would definitely, I feel like, be more effective during the season, which would be wild if they did it during the season. But if you guys remember, like when Nafisa Collier came out and said what she had to say about Kathy Engelbert, and then they were directly going into the WNBA finals, like that would have been a time if they wanted to just send a huge statement. Like they could have they could have issued the strike then, and that would have been crazy because that would have messed up so many things, and that would have been such a bold move.
The WNBA responded swiftly with carefully crafted, diplomatically worded public messaging. Management recognized player authority while vigorously disputing their negotiation narrative, labeling it grossly inaccurate regarding current talks. Leadership expressed clear irritation, contending that union rhetoric creates false impressions, depicting the organization as change-resistant despite their claims of proposing major reforms. This media battle reveals widening distrust and communication breakdown between parties, rendering quick agreement seemingly impossible.
Last season, and that's why this year's CBA is so very important. But I do wonder, with these 3 players that voted against the strike, if I were to guess, I would say that these 3 players were probably players who aren't big time players. Because if a strike or a lockout happens, it's going to hurt those middle tier and lower tier players more than it's going to hurt any of the stars, and any of the players who already have deals to play in Unrivaled, already have deals to play in Project B. And even with Unrivaled and Project B, I know like the biggest thing has been this conflict of interest with Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart being at the negotiations table, and obviously they are the owners of Unrivaled, and then NECA being the president of the WNBPA, her having just signed.
Central to the WNBA's argument lies their proposed innovative uncapped revenue sharing framework. They repeatedly highlight this terminology as fundamental to their proposals. This system would guarantee ongoing compensation increases linked to organizational financial performance, representing dramatic departure from existing contracts. Management frames this as forward-thinking policy meant to substantially improve player compensation and benefits, while ensuring sustainable organizational development. However, athletes remain unconvinced. Their rejection of these proposals as cosmetic changes reveals fundamental disagreement about these offerings' actual worth.
Catastrophic if they don't play a 2026 season. Just look at like podcasting, for example, when like Joe Rogan or Alex Cooper went to Spotify and how many people went over there. Now, since they're done with that Spotify deal, now they're back on YouTube. And some people who would have listened to their podcast didn't even follow them to that next network. Like there are so many people, even when we talk about the NFL or the NBA, people are getting, I guess all I'm trying to say is it's hard to get people that are used to a certain product on the floor, they're used to certain teams, whatever, to go watch something that is completely different. And at this very moment, it doesn't seem like, especially Unrivaled, but possibly even Project B, because we have yet to see anything from Project B yet. It seems like they have a lot of good funding behind them, but
Management restated its unwavering dedication to achieving resolution immediately, targeting successful completion of a 30th season for athletes, supporters, franchises, and sponsors. They stressed continued negotiation with genuine intent and urgency, highlighting their pursuit of fresh CBA terms that improve player conditions and compensation while protecting organizational sustainability for coming decades. This messaging, though diplomatic, subtly portrays athletes as potentially threatening upcoming competition and future development, a communication strategy intended to build public backing and shift resolution responsibility onto union leadership.
But the WNBA has been a bit more professional. And then I also wanted to share with you guys what Neko Ogumike had to say about all of this, because her sentiment was actually very similar to what Caitlin Clark had to say at Team USA. And if you're on WNBA Twitter, you're kind of like in the fan sphere of things. A lot of fans were upset with what Caitlin Clark had to say, because she was basically like, this is all great, but we're gonna have to compromise. Like, we need to get back out there on the court. We need to get back out there on the court for the fans. Like, we need to play. At the end of the day, we need to play. And some fans were saying, oh, she's going against the WNBPA. It doesn't look like there's a united front now, because basically all she was saying was like, I want to play in 2020.
Nika Ogumike, serving as WNBPA president, provided balanced commentary, reflecting positions similar to voices like Caitlin Clark. She stressed players' commitment to fair compensation while demonstrating readiness for necessary action to achieve goals. Importantly, Ogumike highlighted the significance of 2026 competition, seeking to guarantee court performance receives proper recognition. She characterized the strike vote as meaningful demonstration of our solidarity and trust we maintain in one another. Supporting player leadership during these crucial discussions, her statements show collective strength while acknowledging practical needs for continued competition.
My predictions for Christmas Day, and you can clip this, hold me to it, and we'll see how I do. So we have Cleveland Cleveland versus New York. Cleveland has been struggling lately, so I'm gonna take the Knicks with this one. They're kind of running on a high right now. Although I do think it's interesting that Poly Market, which is like an odds prediction place, they said that the odds are in favor of the Boston Celtics being the #1 seed at the end of the season, which would just be wild because Jason Tatum still isn't even back into the lineup yet. But I do have the Knicks winning that first game. And then we have the San Antonio Spurs versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I think the Thunder are going to be back for blood during this game. I think they're absolutely going to want revenge. It is also at OKC.
The approaching January 9 deadline creates immense pressure for all parties, representing a crucial moment demanding resolution or escalated conflict. This represents more than scheduling convenience. It's an absolute boundary requiring immediate decisions and final commitments. Given escalating friction and increasingly harsh language, this cutoff creates maximum stress, compelling both organization and athletes toward either mutual concessions or devastating work stoppage consequences. The basketball community watches anxiously, wondering what developments the coming year holds for the WNBA. Through this turmoil, confident forecasting suggests agreement will emerge. Beyond public disagreements and strike threats, widespread belief maintains that neither party desires lost competition, particularly considering recent organizational expansion. Expectations indicate the WNBA will resist player demands for 30% revenue allocation, instead emphasizing significant wage improvements to satisfy union leadership. This approach seeks to deliver concrete financial advantages without fundamentally restructuring long-term economic models, creating potential compromise that preserves the season. Among the most heated disputes centers on ethical concerns, with athletes like Mika Ogwumike, Stephanie Dolson, and Brianna Stewart participating in both CBA discussions and executive positions within competing organizations like Unrivaled and Project B. Opposition voices challenge how players can fairly represent WNBA interests while simultaneously building alternative platforms that might profit from WNBA failure. This apparent contradiction generates ethical complications, raising questions about bargaining integrity and transparency, fueling additional mistrust. The notion that WNBA supporters would automatically migrate to these emerging leagues following canceled 2025 competition faces considerable doubt. Past examples demonstrate fan dedication typically connects to established organizations, franchise systems, and reliable programming. Transferring complete audiences to fragmented, untested competitions represents enormous challenge, similar to media personalities who failed maintaining viewership on exclusive platforms. Concerns exist that WNBA dissolution might cause devastating audience loss rather than smooth transition, proving harmful to all stakeholders. Neither Unrivaled nor Project B currently maintains comprehensive systems necessary to accommodate complete league absorption. These emerging organizations, despite potential, misestablished structures, media agreements, and broad recognition that WNBA has carefully developed across years, indicating seamless replacement represents risky speculation, threatening fragmented, less polished programming that might alienate supporters and reduce women's basketball visibility. The WNBA, regardless of difficulties, continues setting industry standards, something neither emerging league can currently match. Current free agency timing introduces additional complications and pressure to these discussions. Numerous players lack team commitments currently, facing potential uncertainty regarding next season's affiliations. New CBA conditions will significantly affect upcoming contracts, roster structures, and career trajectories. This individual investment for participating athletes increases pressure on WNBA leadership to establish agreements guaranteeing financial stability and professional advancement, making rapid CBA completion absolutely essential. Though players approve strike action, some anticipate WNBA management might implement lockout procedures, tactics observed across other leagues during heated negotiations. Management-initiated lockouts would prohibit player participation in organizational activities, essentially halting operations until agreements emerge. This strategic response would alter power balance, transferring financial pressure more heavily toward athletes, representing aggressive option if WNBA leadership feels excessively pressured. Public irritation becomes increasingly obvious, with supporters growing tired of ongoing media disputes unfolding publicly. Continuous exchanges, mutual accusations of misrepresentation, and absence of meaningful advancement erode community support. Supporters simply desire quality basketball and increasingly reject politics overshadowing beloved competition. This exhaustion might create disengagement, representing dangerous result for organizations pursuing mainstream recognition and consistent development, ultimately damaging both athletes and ownership. WNBA messaging strategically emphasized dedication to supporting future generations of professional players, creating compelling legacy narrative by presenting their offers as ensuring sustainable development. Management positions itself as protectors of organizational future, suggesting current player demands might threaten this vision. This strategy aims to demonstrate WNBA's long-term perspective beyond immediate benefits, concentrating on fundamental stability across decades, hoping to influence public perception and strengthen their reputation as responsible sport custodians. Unrivaled season timing creates additional strategic leverage point. Should WNBA CBA discussions remain unresolved before Unrivaled begins, players like Brianna Stewart, who have openly declared commitment to new competition, might become increasingly detached from WNBA negotiations. This could weaken WNBA's bargaining position and cohesion, as key athletes discover alternative performance venues, reducing their motivation to secure WNBA agreements. It becomes timing competition, with one organization's success potentially affecting the other. Beyond current controversy and authorized strikes, fundamental competition quality, the basketball performance remains outstanding. The organization has featured remarkable talent through engaging games, attracting expanding supporter base. This undeniable court excellence makes current CBA conflicts particularly devastating for many. Primary concern involves off-court disputes overwhelming on-court excellence, disrupting progress and preventing organizational potential fulfillment, creating tragedy for both competitors and devoted fans seeking additional exciting competition. The analyst forecast remains unchanged. Agreements will eventually emerge, though not without continued friction. Extended quiet period will likely follow strike authorization before significant announcements develop. This tense calm suggests complete failure remains unlikely, yet battles for genuinely fair agreements continue. Athletes will maintain pressure, management will defend positions, and supporters will stay anxious, awaiting final resolution of this crucial confrontation defining WNBA's future era. WNBA leadership, confronting historic strike authorization and approaching deadlines, reaches pivotal decision point, managing extraordinarily complicated and visible negotiations. The 2026 season's success, player financial security, and organizational long-term sustainability depend on discovering mutual understanding despite firmly established positions. This transcends compensation discussions, encompassing authority, dignity, and women's professional basketball's destiny, demanding resolution that will permanently transform the sport.